Hi folks, welcome to Greg's Workshop. I'm Greg and today we're going to be building a storage cabinet to go underneath this adjustable height Husky work table. As you can see, I have a couple scrap 2x8s under here just to act as a temporary shelf. Most of these builds that you see on YouTube are kind of similar to this. Obviously they're thinner, but they sit on top of the legs here. And so all the weight in the cabinet is going down onto the legs and onto the casters. I'm going to do it a little bit differently. Basically what I'm going to do is build a cabinet that these legs sit on top of. So all the weight that's in the cabinet will be borne strictly by the cabinet, and then the table basically sits on top. So we'll get started. First thing we do, obviously, is cut down the plywood. Now that I have the bottom cut, I'm going to lay it on here, make sure it fits, and mark out the locations for the countersinks for these bolts. So what I'm going to do is these corners here, these are threaded, that's where the leveling feet or the casters go. I'm going to have some 3/8 machine screws, flathead machine screws, countersunk into this, so they'll just go straight in and hold it all together. There's these bolts here that hold the leg together, so those will need to make room for those. This will end up coming out. Really all this does is keep the legs from splaying in or out. This will do an admirable job of that once it's all complete. So lay it on top here, make sure it fits, get these marked out, and go to town. So what I'm doing here is making my marks. I've got it centered this way on both ends so it's nice and square. I can make my marks for all of these holes I need to drill. Right about there. We'll make them a little oversized to give us a little play. Now if I measured this correctly, this should go just exactly flush with the outside of that leg. Pretty close. With it perfectly flush, I need to measure the distance from the edge to the center of those holes, just right about there. I think it's probably the same. Yeah, it's the same for those, same for that one. So I can take all these marks, line up my combination square, and mark for my holes. Check the fit here. Seems like we go over those bolt heads pretty well. All those holes are closely enough aligned. I think these legs are just a little bit skewed, so we'll have to suck them in tight when we bolt it down. You'll notice that this is pretty dirty. This is the top of the workbench that I took out that was right behind me. So this will be the underside of this, so nobody will see it. The underside of the workbench will be on top, and that'll be nice and clean because I never did anything with it. A couple lines from the framing, but that'll be all right. All right, so next we need to get the other pieces ripped down. I'm going to be using 3/4 inch plywood, not fir like this. It's the radiata pine from Home Depot. Just need to get it ripped down, get it cut to length, get the box assembled. My goal for today is to get that all assembled and then get a coat of poly on it so that I have enough time to get more poly on it today, come back and do final assembly tomorrow. Two important things to note here. One, this Husky adjustable table works really well as an extra in-feed, out-feed support table. Two, although I can rip full-size sheets of plywood on my table saw, I probably shouldn't. Again, adjustable height workbench comes to the rescue. Plenty of support to cut these down to size. And of course, pocket hole screws. Lots and lots of pocket hole screws. So I've got the sides on. They're reasonably stable. It's all screwed down and everything. I'm going to take my dividers and clamp them on each sidewall. That'll give me a ledge to put the top on, get it screwed in. I'm going to leave these out for now. I'm gluing together the outer carcass. I'm not going to glue these in when I put them in because I want to be able to pull the screws and adjust them in the future if I ever, change tools, change my setup, whatever. So I'm going to clamp these in place on both sides, and we'll get the top on. You ever accidentally glue on the wrong side of a line? That's what I did. I took this top piece, I marked down here, and I put the X on the wrong side. So these, you can see this little line here maybe, this needs to be on that side. So I'm going to get this popped off real quick before the glue dries and get it fixed. Carcass is complete. I've taken the casters and the crossbar off of the table. Cut little notches here in each end to accept the mechanism. Now it's time to set it down, see if it fits, see if all my measurements were right. I have not rehearsed this, I have not tried it yet. You're going to see it real time. Boy, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. This leg over here looks like it's splayed out a little bit. I'll just get that clamped in and get it bolted on. But everything is fitting flush. It's right where it should be. All my clearances are exactly where I want them to be. This table is lowered down all the way, and it's good. It's doing everything I want it to do. Cool, we got some finish on it. So it's the next morning. All the poly's dry. I've got this turned upside down. You can see the rough, what used to be the workbench top. I've got to figure out my caster placement. I've got these holes where the bolts are going to go through. They're going to sit flush. That's what's going to bolt this assembly to the table legs. I also have this upright here. That's kind of in the way, or it's useful depending on how I want to roll it. I want these obviously as far out to the edge as I can, but then again, there's that upright in the way, and there's just not quite enough room to put everything out. I'm going to be using T-nuts on the backside with regular bolts here. I think what I'm going to do, because I have this little 1-inch lip here, I'll probably do a T-nut there, and then T-nuts out here, and then I'll probably do just a lag back here up into this upright, probably a 1/4 inch, just a little bit smaller. These are 5/16 bolt holes, but with this only being 3/4, I think I don't want to split the plywood, so I think that's what I'll do. So I've got all my marks laid out at all 4 corners. I'm going to be using a 3/8 inch drill bit. They're 5/16 bolts, but the outside diameter of the T-nut here is 3/8, so that should work out just right. Normally I'd countersink these on the back side, but I think this wood is, it's fur, it's soft enough, I can probably just use a C-clamp and clamp it in. So I'll drill a hole and show you how to put that in and how to get it clamped in, and then I'll do the rest off camera. hole drilled. It's right there. So all we're going to do is put the T-nut in. I think I said T-bolt in the last segment. And get it started, and then we'll get it in the rest of the way with a C-clamp. Put pressure on it, keep it square, and just tighten it down. It goes right in. And yeah, it's protruding a little bit, but that's fine. It'll get sucked down tighter when I put the actual casters on, or if it just sticks up, it's all good. So the machine screws went in just fine. The legs had splayed out a little bit from having this load on it for a day without the cross piece in place, but that's okay. We got it all pulled back in. They went down nice and flush. Now it's time to install the casters. Looks like all the holes are lining up nicely. That's a good start. So we're using 3 bolts into those T-nuts. Let's get them started by hand. Remember, anytime you're putting something together like this, you want to start all the bolts or the nuts or whatever it is before you tighten anything up, just to allow that little bit of play that might be necessary. 5/16 bolts. We went with a quarter lag, quarter by 2.5. Drilled the pilot hole all the way down into that sidewall. So we'll do this one by hand to sneak up on it. I tried to do those machine screws, those flathead machine screws, with the impact driver, and it started impacting, and I was afraid I was cross-threading, and I wasn't. But you do this stuff with hand tools. It's just, you can feel it a lot better. You can just feel where you're at. And as expected, tightening this down, those T-nuts are pulling flush, so that's a plus. All right, and while we're here, we'll talk about the casters. These are double locking casters. I don't know if you can see these little teeth here. Yeah. So when you lock it, it both locks the wheel and locks the caster, so it can't spin. You know, the normal casters that come with things like this, they just lock the wheel, but then they can still spin and the table can move. The table can probably still move a little bit, but not nearly as much. All right, look at the other 3 in. One last thing before we flip it over. This is a large span for a 3/4 inch piece of plywood to span without it sagging. So I went ahead and ripped a 3-inch wide chunk of 2x material to put in as a brace. We've got 4 inches of clearance here, so we'll still have an inch there, should be fine. Glued and screwed, screws into the sidewalls from out here, and then a bunch of screws from underneath or up above, depending on how you look at it, from the other side. So that should give it plenty of support here. Won't sag at all, no matter how much weight I put on it. And there's the basic cabinet. I could leave it like that. I could build drawers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in dividers and build drawers. I want to store a belt sander here, have an open space for a future tool, probably a scroll saw. I think I'll have just enough room to fit it in there. I already cut the dividers. I'm not going to glue those in. I'm just going to pocket hole screw them in, just because I want to be able to move them. I want to be able to change. There's no actual load pushing down on this. This is all supported otherwise, so it should be easy to move them, or actually I don't even need them if I don't want to. But I do want to. I want to make this nice and organized, so we'll get those put in next. So for the dividers, what I've got, I have some pieces of hardboard cut to the proper width. Make sure they're up nice and tight against the hardboard. I'm going to put screws in the bottom, then I'll move it up, clamp it to the top, put screws in the top. I have the same for the other side over here. Made sure that my distance from the front is exactly where I want it to be. going to start in the middle this time. And the reason I'm doing the screws on this side is because they're going to want to suck it that way, and I want it sucked up nice and tight against that piece of hardboard, against that spacer, to make sure we're in the proper position. So I've got pockets properly sized for both of my sanders. Remember how I said I wasn't gluing these panels, these dividers, because I wanted to be able to move them? When I got this belt sander in, it turns out that I didn't leave enough space. So it was a good thing I didn't glue it. I was able to unscrew it, rip a new spacer, move it over 1/2 inch. We're good now, plenty of room. I've got both of these tools mounted on pieces of 3/4 inch plywood. Reason for that is that they need to be, secured to the bench top. I've got enough extra that they can be clamped, but what I want to do is put in some T-track on each edge over here. This belt sander particularly needs access to all 3 sides. So one side to use the wide belt flat, this side to use the disc, and that side to use the wide belt vertical. So I want them on the ends. Now that I think about it, I probably want another T-track across here. I have some intersections coming, but we'll get these ones cut to start and get some T-track put in. Change of plans. Going to do the drawers first. So I'm going to have a drawer in the middle, a drawer on the right. It's going to hold, supplies, tools, whatever I decide to put in there. Going to point out the beauty of this adjustable height workbench. Right about here. There it is. Do you see how I lowered that? This drawer is a little over 2 feet wide. I was able to lower it down to get it to a good, comfortable working height. Now, I am no expert on drawer slide installation, but I'll show you what I'm doing. First off, I'm putting the drawer slides up just as high as I can put them. That gives me more flexibility if I ever get something taller and I need to make the drawers not so deep or not so tall. The drawer slides can stay in place, so that's a plus. So what I got here, piece of 1/4 inch clamped on to give me a little bit of space for the drawer slides. I'm going to have flush mount front pieces, so I've got a piece of 3/4 here clamped on to space it properly. Got my slides. All I'm going to do is put it up there, notch it into the corner, drive home my screws. Drawers are finished. They work like they should. Got some nice soft closed slides. I did make a mistake. Can you spot the mistake? It is right here. I had to put a spacer block in. Got my measurements wrong. Made this drawer 1/2 inch too narrow. So secured that spacer block with some screws to the plywood, and then the slides are secured to that. I may put in some longer screws at some point in the future. Got to do the drawer fronts. I don't want to do those today, just because I don't. Next part is some storage up here. So what I'm going to do, I'll make some little pockets for these, just small parts organizers. These actually, 4 of these will fit across here with just enough room to have 3/4 inch dividers between each one, and it'll work just fine. See if I have any room left behind it for T-track storage. Otherwise, I won't worry about it. Back here, on the back side, I'm going to put in some wood and then use that as like small plywood scrap storage. Stuff like this. Narrow stuff, little squares of 3x6 or whatever, just because they're easy to have around, or they're nice to have around, and they're hard to store. So that's what we'll do next. So I've got the drawers done, the poly's on, all my storage down there is done. I'll show it to you a little bit later. Just tonight, around almost 9 o'clock, my T-track intersections came in. So we're going to cut the T-track before I go to bed. I'm bringing it 6 inches back from the edge here, as well as on each end. Using my my router base that fits into my track saw track. I've got my combination square set for the 6 inches of depth from the edge to the center of the track, plus the 2 3/8 distance from the center of the cut to the edge of the track saw. I'm going to leave this set because I'm going to use it on the ends as well. Now, cutting a rabbet like this creates a ton of dust. So I've got my dust collector hooked up on this side to the router. Over here, just at the edge of the frame, I've got this sort of passive dust collector hooked up to my 4-inch, my 4-inch dust collector. When you cut a rabbet, all the dust and sawdust tends to shoot out the end that you've already cut. So hopefully this will catch a bunch of that. But we'll get it fired up, see how it goes. Boy, just right off the bat, it sounds bad, doesn't it? All right, that did not go well at all. My router bit walked out and cut too deep in a couple of spots, including where at least one of my intersections goes. So I'm not sure how I'm going to fix that. I'll probably have to sand a spot. I'm not sure. I'll figure it out. I think it might have been the painter's tape. I think that was a mistake because it got hung up on there on the base. Yeah, there's some adhesive from that. So painter's tape's gone. I'll get the base cleaned up, and then I'll cut the other two. And it's going to be a late night figuring out how to fix this. The two end cuts went a lot better. That tape was a mistake. Learn from my mistake. Don't put the painter's tape down. It created unnecessary friction. It caused a little bit of slop, a little bit of vibration. This channel is chattered all to heck on the edge. It's too deep in a couple of spots. So I think the best thing to do is to route it out deeper and lay in a strip of wood, 1/8 inch thick, something like that, 3/16. I've got to measure the depth at a few different places and see, but this isn't going to work as is. Yeah, I'm gonna have to fix my hole by going deeper. That's when you get in a hole, stop digging, right? That's what they say. Well, I think the right thing to do here is to keep digging. I'm going to route it out a little bit deeper, lay in a strip of wood to take up that space, bring the T-track up to the proper level, and I hope that works. We'll find out. All right, I think I got it figured out. This piece of fur, got it cut down to 3/4 of an inch wide, planed down to 3/8, 5/16, well, 300 thousandths, anyway, 0.3 inches. It's just the right thickness to fit in there, T-track on top. Get this glued in, pin nailed in, and then we'll get the track installed. I think I fixed it. If this doesn't work, I'll probably have to replace the top. Hopefully I can get this to work. So we're going to be starting with the intersections because that will create the base for everything that follows in terms of filling out these gaps. So these tracks, this is PowerTech track. It's not Rockler, it's not Woodcraft, it's PowerTech. I dig the PowerTech. So much slop in that T-track. My goodness. I'm going to have to cut another strip of wood to put in there. Anyway. So with all that slop, I really need to take care to make sure that these are perfectly centered at 6 inches so it doesn't look wonky as it goes down the way. And that's kind of a trick. But I think I got it. Get some screws in. And we'll figure out a filler strip for the rest. And here's the reason I put in the T-track. I've got these mounted to 3/4 inch plywood, T-bolts, some nuts, nice and secure. I can lock the table down, use my sander, stand at that side to use it this way. I can flip it up, stand here, stand over there, use the table. Swing over to the other side. I've got the 1x30 and the disc. Again, I can stand here with the disc, stand here with the belt. It'll slide. If I want to slide this closer to the edge, I'll just slide over. Should work pretty well. I've got a few more things to do. I'm waiting for a couple more items to come in, so I'll finish this up in a couple of days, or in your world, about 5 seconds. And one last thing, I've got my tool storage lined out. So I've got these blocks of wood here to align the panel, some strips of UHMW to allow it to slide in and out easily. There's space there for that T-nut to hang down. Same on the other side with the wide belt sander. And then up top here, we have this lift out piece held in by magnets. And in here, I have my belt storage and storage for any number of other small items. Then obviously when I crank this up, we can get to them easy now. One final walk around. Got that big spot in the middle. I think I'm going to put a bench grinder there and hopefully a scroll saw when I buy one. You can see with the table cranked up, I can just lift those bins out, no problem. This drawer is, well, fastenings. It's the dowel jig, the dowels, and the pocket screws, and the pocket screw jig. This drawer, I still need to build the dividers, but it's basically going to be storage for the wide sanding belts, as well as the 6-inch stick-on discs, and then in the back here, probably some overstock of the 5-inch random orbit discs. Need to figure out something to do with that end. There's these little kind of pockets there, not pockets, but ability to put pockets or a small cabinet or something there. And then on the back side here, you can see I have my small plywood storage. And that's it, folks. Pretty basic project, works really well, fits really well, fully customizable once you get this outer frame built to whatever you need. Would you like to see plans or measurements for this? I can probably post those up if there's enough interest. Folks, if you enjoyed that video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell to get notified of new videos every other Saturday-ish. Leave a comment or question down below, and I'll see you next time on Greg's Workshop.